Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. I'm Kurt Robinson, president of Robinson Helicopter Company, and it's a pleasure to welcome all of you here. It's great to be back at Heli-Expo, and what's really fun this year is the substantial increase in international visitors. You can see that we're all trying to get back to whatever is normal, and we're happy to have everybody here at the show. This, of course, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary, which is pretty amazing to me. I was 15 years old when my father decided to set up in our living room and get started. Back then it was known as the project, and nobody had any idea where we would end up today. And it is overwhelming, and it's really fun, the last 50 years of what we've done and what we've accomplished with everybody. And wanted to say thank you for that. And of course, I wanted to acknowledge the passing of Frank Robinson, my father, last year on November 12th. Frank was 92 years old at the time, and he is both a pioneer and a legend in aviation. I sincerely want to thank everyone for their cards or letters, including the phenomenal praise, acknowledgement, and beautiful comments that people have posted on social media, that have been printed in the news media and the press. It's really been overwhelming, and myself and my family really thanks everyone for it. The most interesting thing to me that has occurred is I have gotten several letters from regulatory officials, people that Frank would almost view as adversaries, and some of the just really nice comments that they made about Frank, and literally about the back and forth that occurs. It's kind of natural in this industry while you're trying to make things go forward. And the fact that they were almost proud of the fact that Frank yelled at them, and that they were able to push back, but they really wanted to make certain that we understood that they knew Frank was trying to make things better, that we were trying to advance aviation, and that safety was never an issue. It was always foremost, and that they really appreciated all the work and all of the stubbornness that Frank exuded. And to them, I really do thank them. Wish I would have said that a few years ago, but it's really nice to have said that. And if nothing else, the letters and the comments that we've received from people has really inspired me and everybody at Robinson Helicopter Company, and we're going to pursue Frank's legacy into the future, and hopefully that will be showing up in the products and everything that we produce. So thank you for that. Our production last year, or our sales last year, everything was a good year, 2022. And we, even with the supplier and the labor shortages that was experienced not only by us, but by the industry as a whole, Robinson managed to increase our production, total aircraft deliveries to 258 helicopters, which was an increase from the 244 helicopters that we did in 2021. Of course, I think a year ago I was trying to get us to go to 300, and I thought I could do it, but wasn't able to achieve that. But we did make progress, and we're pretty proud of that. For 2021, the deliveries of the aircraft included 15 R-22s, 101 R-66s, which was a substantial increase from the 86 the year before, 142 total R-44s, which breaks down into 86 Raven 2s, 51 Raven 1s, and 5 cadets on there. Once again, about 67% of those deliveries were outside of the U.S., leaving 33% of the sales, or 85 aircraft, into the U.S., and similar to all of our previous years, we seem to average around 70% international and 30% domestic, and that continues to hold true today. Our leading export sales was in Australia, Brazil, Canada, and Europe. Not dissimilar to a lot of years past, but it's been wonderful. Robinson has to date delivered over 13,500 aircraft worldwide, which now includes over 1,200 R-66. And again, with the R66, we're pleased to report no major problems. Our field reports have been excellent. The cumulative fleet hours on the R66, based on the utilization rate provided by Rolls-Royce, is now past 1.6 million flight hours without a single engine failure. We're very proud of that, and we want that to continue. And I think working with Rolls-Royce, it's going to be achieved as we go forward. The deliveries of the R66 exceeded their Raven 2, R44 Raven 2 for the first time. And now that operators are getting comfortable with the aircraft and realizing and appreciating the R66 capabilities, we expect the R60 sales to not only continue but to increase on there. We are right now slated, we did 101 this year, and we have orders for over 130, and I expect to try and get all those out in this coming year. We have, as in total amount, we have over 350 helicopters currently on back order. So if we only did 258 last year, you can imagine that we are sold out for the year. I would like that not to be true, and we are trying to do everything we can to increase deliveries of aircraft. Our current production rate is 3 R66s per week, 3.5 R44s per week, and 1 R22 every 2 weeks. The total employment has been increased by 58 employees over the year, and we are now back to our pre-COVID levels, which total employment right now is right at 1,030, and with a target of increasing our overall employment by the end of the year to 1,100. It's a slow process, but frankly, the in-house labor has not been our constraint as much as it's been with the difficulties with our suppliers. And we're pushing in that area. As the economy has come back to life and has grown, we have seen a substantial increase in the amount of hours flown worldwide. Everywhere it just seems it's up, and everybody kind of hit us at the same time. We've always prioritized product support, and we continue to lead in this area. We recognize the delays and difficulties to our suppliers last year, but we continue to work through it, and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I will say this with absolute certainty, that you can expect spares availability to increase and delivery times this year to substantially decrease. We are ramping up. We can see the amount of product going out the door is getting higher, and our suppliers are finally getting the materials and the parts that they need to increase sales. It's one thing when all of a sudden you wanted people to just meet the delivery schedule that they proposed or that you originally submitted, but we've had to come back early in the year and say, did I say I want 100? I actually need 200. And that's when some of the fighting has been gone on. Not really fighting, but the push to get those suppliers up. And it's starting to happen now, which is good. So as we go into the next year, I do expect to greatly reduce the back orders for spares. And we also understand how many of our helicopters are used in commercial applications, and frankly, that people can't have grounded aircraft. That's why they turn to Robinson, and we take that responsibility seriously. As far as improvements and things on our aircraft, first off, I'd like to be able to say, or I'm happy to say, that the installation and delivery of the electronic ignition system, or the EIS, for both the R22 and the R44 is now in full production and going forward. They're on both the 22 and the 44. Obviously, the 500-hour mag inspection provides increased reliability and improved starting and reduced maintenance. In the next few weeks, Robinson and Lycoming are working together to be issuing a service letter on how the owners can now upgrade or retrofit to their aircraft to the EIS. So the ones that we've promised to deliver it to, we will be honoring that and get it out. We just wanted a little bit of time to make certain that there's no more issues in the field. Once bitten or twice bitten, you get shy. And so I'm just a little hesitant before I start just sending the kits out. But we're there, and we haven't forgotten people, and we will make certain that happens. On the R66 this last year, we did do a fully approved night vision goggle or NVG compatible cockpit and laser eliminator. This aircraft was delivered to Polk County Sheriff. We did it all in-house for the first time, and it went smoothly, and now we're set up to do it. I think NVG for the police and government applications is something it just has to happen. So we are now integrated into our production so that we can deliver on those promises. We actually have an R66 police helicopter from Polk County. It's on display in the static area, and if you get a chance, I would encourage you to stop by and look at all the toys that are on that aircraft. It's pretty impressive. On the R66, we have recently certified the pressure refueling system, which is on the pilot side. It's located about waist high, and allows for rapid refueling. The pilot can select either full or partial loads. And this is something that we've been asked for a considerable time from our agricultural operators requiring very fast turnarounds, and this makes it happen. The list price on the pressure refueling is currently at $18,000. We don't have it in our configurator at the moment. And the reason that is that we really want only the operators that really need to have hot refueling that are doing it for ag business. I don't really want individual owners to feel like that they're somehow on some SWAT team or something and they've got to move really fast on there. So it's something that has to be requested at this time. As it becomes more commonplace and people actually understand it, we'll open it wide. But it is currently available on the R66. On the avionics and electronics, I think the best word to use there is we continue to evolve. We're continuing to upgrade the avionics and electronics on all of our aircraft. It is kind of fun to see owners and operators who haven't been around for 3, 4, 5 years to come by and look at the aircraft at the show, and they're just amazed at what has happened there. The upgrades by Garmin and other vendors is pretty impressive to see on there, including Genesis. In fact, on the Genesis, we now have certified a new version, which provides smoother performance, has an airspeed hold, and a washout feature. And really what the washout feature just means, if you push the ship over and you push against it, instead of resetting it, if you just hold it in that position for a few minutes, it kind of washes out and then says, okay, that's where they want to be, and they go ahead and reset at there, so you don't have to push the button and reset it if you don't want to. The other thing I'd kind of like to just bring up, and we've had the heads of the FAA, the heads of the NTSB come by our facility, and everybody is pretty fascinated with the cockpit camera. It has turned out to be a huge success. We're immensely proud of it. And it is standard, of course, in both the R66 and the R44 on all the new aircrafts, and it is available as a retrofit. It has an amazing depth of field, which is a photographer. The tricky part is being able to see not only the instrument panel inside, but get that view outside, whether it's at nighttime or in a really bright daylight. It has a 4K, the rock solid images on it, hold steady, and of course a removable USB memory stick. We have found, as we expected, that it's popular for tours and for training, but also for the resolving of the maintenance issues. We have already on numerous occasions have had people that had a difficulty that we were able to have them pull out the memory stick, download it, send it to us, and it tells the story. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but no matter what the people are saying, you can look at it and we can help diagnose an issue really quickly, or an instructor can see what a pilot did, and people in the air, you get confused. And this is a real way when you're sitting on the ground to take a quick look back and understand what happened. It's also helped us now in a couple of accidents to determine exactly what occurred. So we're proud and are going to continue to push that forward. The last thing I'm going to talk about before I turn it over and open it up to questions is I want to just speak on unleaded aviation fuel. It is something we have been pushing this since I think 2014, well over 10 years, even before that, trying to work with fuel manufacturers, with Lycoming, with PAFI, with Gamma, with all the other organizations to find an unleaded replacement for 100 low lead. This is long overdue. It needs to happen in our industry, and we all have to put, I think, a greater sense of urgency on working together and getting collaboration and cooperation to get this solved. Currently, with our fleet, the R22, the R44 Raven 1, and the Cadet, which operated on the 0540, a parallel valve engine, are all approved to fly on 91 UL or 94 UL. The R44 Raven 2 with the fuel-injected I0540 high-performance angle valve engine is not. And we are working with the different manufacturers and continue to work with Lycoming to develop a solution. This whole area remains a top priority. And one of the reasons why I bring it up here and now is because we are seeing just a lot of misinformation. We get letters or people contacting us from various municipalities saying, well, we understand 100, unleaded aviation fuel is available. And I can tell you, as we get into this market, and we're watching it very closely, that at the current time, there is not an unleaded 100 octane aviation fuel currently being distributed. And from my understanding, it's still going to be a while. But I think it's something that we're in California, so whether we like it or not, we tend to be on the leading edge. But this is something that needs to be solved, and it's only going to happen with everybody working together. And we've been doing this since 2014. We've availed ourselves to any testing, anything we can do, and we will continue to do that. I am optimistic that we're going to find a solution, but it's certainly going to be before 2030. And that's something that we will continue to push. Other than that, I want to invite everybody, if you haven't stopped by our booth, to take a look at our three aircraft, the R66, the R44 Raven 2. We have a Cadet on display. They're both loaded with quite a bit of optional equipment, just so that you get an idea of what you can do with them. And of course, as I said earlier, we have a police ship back in the static booth. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions anybody might have. Yes, sir, in the back.
So, was there any, Thank you. Were there any, top secret napkin drawings that your dad left in a drawer that you found? Or are you working on something new?
We're always working on new stuff. Those are the things I can't talk about. But we're always moving forward, and we're always going to continue to evolve. We keep looking at the market, and what we were trained to do, our engineering department and myself, was to go where others aren't. Don't chase after the crowd. Look and see where there's a demand and what needs to be done. And there's a variety of areas in there that we are looking at and that we are working with. But most of it really is, it's incremental. And as you're building some things, you're actually putting a package together for down the road. And that's what we'll continue to do. Yes, sir.
Hi, Kurt. Tony Osborne with Aviation Week. Any more thoughts? I think you've previously said that you'd be open to diesel power. Any more thoughts on that? You were had been looking at some various options. Have you progressed that any further, or leaving it?
We've been working on diesel, I think, since the late 1990s. We continue to work on it. We think it has a lot of value. There's a lot of issues with it, a lot of things that have to be solved. If we had solved them all, I would have probably led this discussion with the talk about diesel. But we haven't, but we're still optimistic that we can resolve them, and we continue to work on various diesel engines. We would love to find something that we could drop into the 44. I think that would be an excellent. But if you look around at what's currently available, there's issues with everything. And of course, you have higher weight, you have vibration, you have other issues that have to be contended with. But we have not forgotten it, and just the fact, I'm glad you brought it up, and we continue to work on it at the factory.
Can I ask a follow-up really on that? The R66, the work with, are you going to do a SAF test with Rolls-Royce on sustainable aviation fuel to verify the performance of that? And one quick follow-up to that is, obviously an electric version of the R22 has been successfully flown. Is that something that you could look at as a future potential for a production version? Thanks.
Sure. Well, let's start out with your question about the sustainable aviation fuel. We actually in the summertime, we actually got a fuel load or a tank load of sustainable aviation fuel. It was 25%, and ran it in our aircraft. I think the amount that we were able to put in the tank, it lasted for about a month and a half. All of our production safety courses, we had no issues whatsoever. It ran really well. Now I know everybody's talking about increasing that. We haven't done it at 50% or higher, but at this point we don't really see it as being an issue as it becomes available. The only thing that I will note was that the amount that we had to buy was definitely more expensive than the standard. But we wanted to make certain that there wasn't any issues and it could be used in our aircraft. And if that's the way we're all going to go, then we're fine with that. There shouldn't be a problem with it. Oh yeah, on the electric. That actually, there's been 22 drones. You have the company down in Orange County that has done tier 1 aviation. They have flown and set records with a 44 with an electric motors in there. Our engineering has done some help with them on it, although, I'm not taking anything away from tier 1 because they've done a lot on their own. We are looking carefully at electric, all the eVTOLs and what's going on. And as we were with a turbine or with a diesel or with a piston engine, we're actually engine agnostic. We will put whatever engine in that airframe makes the most sense. And as we mature and as we go along, as that industry matures, when there becomes an electric engine, or more importantly, when the battery technology is at a certain point that it works, we will be happy to go forward and put one in. We still see that as a little ways off. Now something could happen in the next year and everybody runs to it, and if they do, we'll be right there with them. But right now, I don't really talk about it because it's not something that's going to come up in the next year or two.
Anyone else?
Any other questions? Guys are too easy.
Okay,
Yes.
come in.
Is there a project to install the Garmin autopilot?
Yes.
Thank you.
We are working with Garmin, and I would expect we're fairly far along, but we're not there yet. So, in fact, one of the ships that's going back to the factory will be working with Garmin to get the certification completed on there. But we also, in the same vein, I'll tell you that the Genesis and the new version is working very well. But as we've always known, it's great to have competition. It improves everything. So if there's pressure on Genesis because of Garmin, great, and vice versa, we like to see that. And frankly, we want the market to decide. So we are working on getting them, make certain that they're both approved so that the owners and operators can make that decision.
Hi. Have the new main rotor blades revisions for the R44 and R66 been out long enough to know whether or not they'll be more durable than the previous design?
So you're asking about the main rotor blades, and actually I think it's been about 3 years now where it's an exposed leading edge, and then it's actually filled now with a polysulfide. And the paints, by leaving the leading edge open, that's a tricky word to say, it has helped us we can now use paints that are more abrasive but are easily chipped, so if you don't have them on the leading edge. The polysulfide that we have used and put on there about 3 years ago, all I can tell you is that our sales and customer support have dropped off remarkably. I am extremely pleased with the results that has happened with the blades and with the way we have them. So I think that's the best test. I don't have people calling me that I've had unusual wear, and it is tricky because you had with paints, you have a soft paint that helps you in a moisture or an area that we have rust, and then you have a more brittle paint that's used for abrasive that helps you in like sandy environments, and this gives us the best of both worlds. So we're very pleased with the blades now and how they're being produced.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
And I will remind everybody that tomorrow on Dan Rugenstein will be doing the maintenance course. So if there's any technical things or questions that you have, then I would encourage you to go to those courses, and he can update you on any of the maintenance thing that you want to know about. So, all right. Well, with that, I will thank everybody for coming, and I look forward to seeing you at the show and later on today. Thank you very much.